Keith Waters is by us, the Chief Operating Officer, the European Tour. Welcome to Munich.
Thank you.
You had a good flight?
Excellent, thank you. I was on time this morning.
Okay, sehr gut. Also kam genau an, obwohl es geschneit hat. Keith, you're the Chief Operating Officer of the European Tour and therefore the key partner of BMW in golf. What makes the difference between BMW and other sponsors?
We obviously have a lot of different relationships with a lot of different companies who are involved sponsoring and partnering with the European Tour. But I can safely say that the relationship with BMW is a very special one in terms of its longevity, but also in terms of the quality. There is no doubt the culture of the company here is very strong in terms of the professionalism and the integrity of anything they do in sport, and especially working with the European Tour. We're very fortunate to have a company that strives for excellence, is looking for innovation in everything they do, and it's certainly helped in terms of the development of golf tournaments in Europe, the approach and the attitude of the BMW employees. It's a very large team. It's a very comprehensive team here that we work with, but we're very fortunate to have so many skilled and expert operators. I think in particular the quality of their events, the way they approach the dynamic of the spectators, the players, the media, they address all the issues that are going to arise, and it's a very strong and very powerful relationship.
Ich glaube, muss man nicht übersetzen. Er hat sehr lobende Worte gefunden. Er hat gesagt, ganz tolle Partnerschaft. Das glaube ich schön ausgeführt. Sie haben es verstanden. Keith, you have been a professional yourself. Look at this picture. What a beautiful, strong athlete. You remember when it was?
It's a few years ago, yes.
We talk after this, but how do you perceive BMW as a partner of the professional golf sport as well?
Well, again, that professionalism, that quality comes through. When you're a player, you immediately in contact with the sponsor and the way they organise the golf tournament. Just very simple things like the quality of the courtesy car service. It should be obvious that BMW obviously going to put on a very good service, but the number of cars, the punctuality, the quality, it shines through immediately. I remember the player facilities, the way they looked after the players. Not only at the golf course, but in terms of the arrangements away from the course. The players had the opportunity to go on test drives of various cars in various places. It was always very enjoyable to sit in a BMW and drive very quickly around a track. So they certainly focused on the players and encouraged the players to come back and play in the future.
Ganz kurz, Sie werden es verstanden haben, er sagt auch aus Sicht der Spieler ist es natürlich immer toll, nach München zu kommen, was auch schon Magnus Wiese gesagt hat. Die Spieler werden hier toll behandelt, können nebenbei auch noch die BMWs fahren und das tun sie natürlich alle gern, wir wissen in den letzten Jahren, das machen sie ganz besonders gern. You played the first BMW International Open, 1989. What's your memories?
Firstly, it was very, very cold.
Like today?
Not quite as cold as today, but and when I look back in the history books, I realised the tournament was in mid-October. One of my roles and responsibilities today is to do with the scheduling of events, and I'm not sure I would take the risk of actually scheduling an event in Munich in mid-October. It was very cold, and I think it rained slightly, but we played 4 rounds. I do remember playing very well, especially on the first 2 days. I think I shot 69 in the first round and was very pleased, and was absolutely astonished to see that David Ferty had shot a 62 on the first day. The second round I shot 67, and thinking I was making some progress, and David Ferty shot 66. So I was a long way behind, and I fell slightly away at the weekend, but it was my first experience of playing at Iconreed. Although it was very cold and very wet, the golf course was in good condition. I remember how dark it was so quickly in the evenings, which actually gave us a bit more time, and we even managed to spend a bit of time in Munich, looking around at this beautiful city, which I'd never visited before. So it was all in all, it was a very good experience.
Sie Sie haben es, glaube ich, verstanden. Er hat 89 gespielt, ersten Tag super gespielt, dann sieht er Fertig, schießt eine 62. Zweiten Tag wieder schießt Fertig eine 66. Hat er gesagt, okay, der ist einfach besser. Aber es war eine gute Erinnerung. Comparing the setup, last year's 89 till today. What's the difference? What happened?
Well, there's a huge difference, and you know, all aspects of professional sport has moved forward. Not just golf, but the amount of people that are involved in the events today, both behind the scenes and in front, the number of media that now attends events. I don't think there was any live TV coverage of the first golf tournament here in 1989. And when you consider the number of hours, the amount of exposure that the golf tournament receives around the world now, it's quite incredible. I was actually in London last week, and I was talking to some of my colleagues at Sky Sports who show around 20 to 24 hours of live coverage of the tournament every year. For the first time, you can actually watch the golf tournament live while you're actually in the underground, you know, the tube in London. They've got the facility now. If you've got your phone or your iPad, you can actually watch the tournament live. So there's been incredible steps forward. The players themselves, the amount of training, the amount of support they get, whether it's through the physiotherapists, through the doctors, through their coaches, all sorts of advances have been made. And of course the equipment has been a huge step forward. Going back to my very early days, I remember sharing a room with Bernard Langer, who was about the same age as me, and we used to sit and check our golf balls every morning to see if they were actually round, because the technology was not in place in the 1970s to actually make golf balls round. And Bernard Langer used to have a ring, and he used to put the balls through this ring, and probably 50% of the golf balls we used to throw away because they were actually not in good enough shape to actually play the tournament with. When you consider the advances in the technology, with the testing on the equipment and the balls, etc. Today, it's a very different sport. The advances on the agronomy at the golf course, I can read. The golf course has been in superb condition for the last few years. We work very closely. We have our own agronomy team. Graham McNiven, who actually started his career here in Munich, he now works for the European Tour, and he gives his advice and support in terms of preparing the golf courses. So the advances, the changes have been quite phenomenal in those 25 years.
Das sind Unterschiede. Als Bernhard Langer noch geschaut, ob die Bälle rund sind. So we have looked back the last 25 years. Take a look in the future. How do you see golfing in 25 years? What will happen?
Well, I think the one thing about golf is that it does carry a lot of history and tradition. So I wouldn't expect the game of golf to actually change too much in terms of the way it's played. There's a big debate now in the game about whether players should be allowed to use the anchoring method in putting. And there seems to be some resistance to allow that to happen. So I think there is always going to be some values and traditions that are held within the game. Obviously, the technology, the media capacity around the sport is going to continue to advance. And so people are going to be able to consume and see the sport and golf tournaments in many different ways going forward. So I think most of the advances maybe will be outside of the game of golf.
So let's see. Will be great days. Thank you very much, Keith Waters, for the interview and coming to Munich.